instead of Emily Mason, the typical starter back there. The rest of that Rutgers lineup, no different. It'll be Meisel and Lynch flanking Kurla and Banks, Daigle, Flushel, and Brocious across the midfield, and then Tiernan, Lowry, and Kroger up top for the Scarlet Knights in all red with the white trim. And we are underway. Lappy sends it down the field, and the Wildcats and Scarlet Knights are ready to tip off Big Ten postseason action. Northwestern going north to south, left to right on your screen to start things here. No wind to speak of at Martin Stadium today. A rare experience playing soccer on the lake, Adam, but both teams will certainly welcome it. Rutgers, of course, heading right to left, and they quickly take possession in the back. Daigle in the middle. Quickly gets it ahead to Tiernan, marked by Austin. And she gives it away to Phillips. You mentioned that Northwestern had the majority of the dangerous chances in that contest that these two teams drew earlier in the season. But it was Rutgers that controlled much of the play for the first 60 minutes, even though the Wildcats opened the scoring. And they'll certainly be looking to do so again.
Yeah, and I think controlling the early tempo of the game is so crucial when you face Northwestern. We know how dangerous this team can be in the first halves. Really scoring in the first half of every conference game except for two. And again, Rutgers saw that one firsthand last time they met.
And in each of their only two losses in conference play, Northwestern gave up 2 goals in the first 25 minutes. Both of those back-to-back losses against Michigan State and Iowa, it was early scores from those two teams that put the Wildcats in a hole that they couldn't quite dig out of. They got one back in both of those, but couldn't quite find the equalizer.
Yeah, and the Iowa game certainly the worst of the 2 losses, but you can also really look to pin it on the fact that Katerina Regazzoni was out of that game. It was the first game she had missed all season, and they're really, you know, considering she played 90 minutes in 14 of the 16 games going into that point, there wasn't much of a strategy to take the field without her. They had to shuffle a lot.
As we mentioned, they went to the 4th back look without Regazzoni. Big Ten Freshman of the Year, of course, Katerina Regazzoni, the Swiss native.
You know, they moved Alessino back to her defensive mid position to start, Gilbertson into the attacking mid, and then Brooke Miller over on the wing. So there was a lot of shuffling, and it just didn't quite click from the go as Iowa took that 2-0 lead.
And the real way, as that pass from Austin a bit too long for Gilbertson, go out for a goal kick, the real way that we can know that that's the case is when Regazzoni got back for that Ohio State matchup later in the weekend, they looked completely different. It was like a switch flipped for Northwestern.
Yeah, back to their normal first half ways, 2-0 lead at the half. They're able to see it out. You know, if that game slips, you don't know if they're hosting a Big Ten game, let alone finishing second. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Put them under some pressure there, but just to get that win and come into the postseason on a high was so important.
Lappy comes through without a call. Getting up slowly is Becky Flushel, one of 5 captains on this Rutgers squad. Flushel was singled out by her head coach Mike O'Neill in a very positive way. He said she was the worst snub that he can think of seeing from the Big Ten, from the All Big Ten teams. Rutgers had 6 players on the 3 All Big Ten teams. When we asked Coach O'Neill about those teams and the naming of them earlier this week, he singled out Flushel particularly as being snubbed before he talked about any of his honorees. He said she's the best number 6 he's ever coached. High praise from the veteran in his 9th year at Rutgers. As here's a takeaway for the Scarlet Knights, and coming through the middle is Lowry with space. Lowry slides to it, trying to get a deflection off Austin, and it will go out, and it will be a corner. It looks like no, goal kick given. Lowry was really trying to tell our lead official here that she had gotten that deflection off Austin, and that's a good call. There was no touch off Austin that you could see from that angle at least. So it will be a goal kick for the Wildcats.
The early warning signs there, again, Rutgers playing this front 3, Northwestern with their back 3. They're going to be matched up like for a majority of the game, and if one player is out of position, it just creates that hole. Emma Phillips was, you know, a little out of the center, but Danica Austin, great pace to recover, also benefited by a little bit of a heavy touch there by Lowry, but, you know, just early warning signs of what Northwestern has to worry about.
Austin clears down the line here. One thing I was about to mention for Rutgers as Cassidy Banks commits a foul. The Scarlet Knights have seen some defensive liabilities over the last week of the season. Michigan struck for 2 early goals, as you were mentioning, Adam. It could have easily been more. And that defense looked to have some holes in it that we hadn't seen all season. So a move is made from Coach O'Neill. He changes his starting lineup, goes away from Emily Mason, the sophomore at the back, and joins her fellow sophomore Cassidy Banks with a more veteran, more experienced player in Adriana Kurla, who typically sees action in these games, but is making her first start of the conference season in the back line.
Yeah, and especially that Michigan game. The Michigan State game, it was a Lauren DeBow just banger from distance into the top corner, not a lot on the defensive end. But the Michigan game, you give up 2 goals in 2 minutes to see your 2-goal lead eventually turn into a 3-2 deficit at the moment. And just 2 of them off of set pieces, the third one still off of a cross, just a lack of attention to detail in that defensive third. You can see, why you maybe want to switch things up.
Yeah, absolutely. Rutgers, yeah.
Just especially that the game-winning goal for Michigan. Free kick sent into the box. The first ball was headed clear, but then just a ground ball across the 6-yard box. Goes just completely across, and then an unmarked Michigan player at the far post to tap it home for the win.
Wildcats now moving forward with some pace against that same Rutgers defense. It's Gilbertson into the corner, spinning, looking, double-teamed initially, trying to find a way to get a corner out of this, and she does. Very impressive work from Lily Gilbertson working against Emma Meisel. Junior on junior, and Gilbertson wins it.
Wildcats corner kick coming up. Number 8.
And while that wasn't a quadruple team, you could just see the gravity Gilbertson has on that wing. 4 defenders in such close proximity without a second Northwestern forward nearby, and still able to get a corner out of that situation. Probably the best outcome given how the defense was gravitated towards her.
Ever dangerous Wildcat set piece from Alessino. The outswinging ball. Phillips with a long-headed attempt. Really no chance on the goal there, and Daigle clears it away. Doucette will let it go out for a throw.
And while that one didn't come to anything, that combination specifically, Alessino to Phillips on corners as they try another long ball here.
Regazzoni on the end of it, and couldn't, had her shot blocked off in front. Now Del Carmen to her left foot, shoots, and the save is made by McClelland. Early test for the veteran goalkeeper, and she holds up to it.
Yeah, good patient play on the edge of the box by Del Carmen, bringing it back onto her left. Thought maybe could have played Haas down the side of the box, but a pretty good effort. Just McClelland even to it, didn't quite find the corner there.
Now McClelland's punt comes over the top of the Wildcat defense, but Phillips is back in position to spirit it away. Rabin into no man's land, and it's cleaned up in the end by Fluchel. Lowry and Daigle play catch. Sliding challenge from Bodie only succeeds in pushing it out wider for Rutgers. Brochus cross on the end is Tiernan, and the Scarlet Knights have struck. An early goal for Rutgers. It's 1-0 for the number 7 team in the Big Ten Conference.
And that's just a perfect ball across the 6-yard box. Annika Austin really not out of position per se with her marker at the back post, but just perfectly weighted right here, as you can see, trying to recover, maybe a little behind the edge of the play, allowing Tiernan to get into that position. But just such good attacking play by Rutgers, and it's what we've seen from them in the entirety of the season. With this front 3 and Brochus joining from the midfield, just so much link-up play, so much understanding of each other, where they're going to be and when they'll be there, and right there showing you.
You see that Rutgers bench making noise after Riley Tiernan starts the scoring in just the 8th minute of action. And here comes Rutgers again, but slipping on the ball was Daigle. Slowed it down for a second at least. Tiernan trying to play Lowry nowhere close. But Riley Tiernan showing off that speed from the left wing on that goal, Adam. On the cross from Brochus, as here comes Rutgers again. It's Kroger looking for Lowry. Tiernan is free, but Lowry couldn't see her behind. Fluchel from distance, and that ball is deflected, and Rabin able to catch up with it before it goes out for a corner. So another assist for Brochus. She's been such a crucial part of this offense throughout Big Ten play. The only player with more than 2 goals in conference play this season for Rutgers. She has 4. Now adds another assist to her scoring tally on that perfect ball for Brochus. Now the Wildcats looking a little bit discombobulated. Doucette just trying to clear her area. Del Carmen going up against Banks on the back end. Bit nervy from Banks. Eventually Kurla gets it back to McClelland. And she gets it to Alessino, who wanted a one-timer and blasted it to about the 3-yard line on the football field behind us here.
teed up pretty perfectly for her to have
Yeah.
that distance, have that effort from distance on the first time, but
Certainly an ambitious try
Yeah.
from Alessino, if nothing else.
gets a little too much on it.
Nervy moments for McClelland. Not the greatest pass out of her own goal.
Good for, and it didn't come to much in the end, but good for Northwestern. Just get some chances to try to quell that Rutgers momentum. I think that possession before, there's just a few touches that go slightly different. You're looking at a completely different chance.
Yeah.
I think Tannen down the wing was looking open for a second, but just a little, they just got held up in the middle for just a moment, allowed the back three to get back into position.
Right now, we are going really end-to-end here at Martin Stadium. Not a lot of hold-up play in the midfield in this one so far. Both teams trying to attack right out of the gates. Haas gets the header off the throw. And now Regazzoni will play back for Phillips. So one more time on the goal. It was Brocious on the cross to Tiernan with a beautiful finish. 4th goal of the year for Riley Tiernan, the former Big Ten Freshman of the Year. And the sophomore has one of the biggest goals of Rutgers this season as the Scarlet Knights try to advance to the Big Ten semifinals. They've got the early advantage, and they are not just sitting on it. They're trying to double it. As this ball comes up to Lowry. Bodie just steps right in front of Brocious. Regazzoni across that lacrosse line at 35 yards away. Now Haas working on Lowry. Back for Bodie, and pardon me, it was Lynch that Haas was working on. Bodie cut off nicely. Doucette. Defensive header away from Meisel, but the Wildcats right back in. Gilbertson is on sides, and her cross is blocked away for another Wildcat corner. The chances continue in the early going.
And these corners, again, throughout the entirety of the game, should prove to be big chances with the likes of Lappy and Phillips rising at the back post. Whether it be for them to shoot directly or try to head it back across the 6-yard box, as we've seen throughout the season.
Alessino plays it short for Bodie. Doucette with space at the top of the box. Curls one in. And Haas tried a tough turning shot. Couldn't get her foot to it. Out for a Rutgers throw. That was always going to be a very difficult ball for Ella Haas to get anything significant on. The Wildcats try going short, doesn't quite work out.
Tough when you're running back to the 18-yard line,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
towards the goal. Got to curve around to put that volley on frame.
But now Haas working back on the ball. Cut off by Lynch, and she fouls her. Good defending. A free kick for Rutgers.
A little interesting to have your goalie taking free kicks that far to the side of
Especially
the frame.
when we saw a very questionable touch from McClelland earlier.
It has to go wrong pretty badly to end in an effort on frame. But
Right, from there,
can.
yeah, from there, certainly. Sometimes better safe than sorry. I think, well, that was close, actually, to being a handball from Kroger, but the officials ruled the ball had gone out before she picked it up, as she was pretty sure it had. Regazzoni wins the battle of the headers initially. Del Carmen can't find Alessino. McClelland over the head of Lynch. And her struggles with service continue. Wildcats continuing to push forward.
it didn't take much chances on that one. It is a situation where it would be better to overhit than underhit.
Certainly.
But the Northwestern press doing its job here.
Lappy now to set things up. Switches sides to Austin. Bodie asks for it, gets it, lays it off for Alessino. Turning, cut off very well by Banks. Gilbertson gets across through, cut off and cleared by Lynch. Passes it to her fellow Allison, and Lowry can't quite connect with Kroger in counterattack. Rutgers still coming forward. Bodie on top of Kroger. She gets away from her. And now Kurla and Banks will settle things down. Miscommunication. Phillips beat Daigle, but Daigle got it back away from her. Nice little spell of possession for the Scarlet Knights, and Lynch dekes out Haas. Brocious past Alessino to Daigle. Carving through the middle of this midfield. Lowry, dummies, but she didn't have exactly what she thought she had behind her. Now Del Carmen the other way without much help. Alessino comes to the ball. She's got Gilbertson to her outside, didn't want it. Slows things up instead. Haas down the line for Bodie. Nice run. Lynch coming to cut it off. Bodie against Lynch here. Her cross is blocked away for a Northwestern throw.
Yeah, Rutgers doing a good job dropping in numbers early on, not really allowing any type of counterattack to develop. You could see it at the beginning. Alessino, really no one in front of her.
As Bodie plays it back to Doucette. That Rutgers defense has been very well managed so far. Kurla providing that steadying force. Ball comes over the top from Bodie, and nobody close to get ahead on it before it nestles into the arms of McClellan. As we settle into the action here, about 12 and a half minutes deep into this one, Rutgers with the early 1-0 lead. Don't expect many subs either way. These are two teams that have settled into their rotations over the backstretch of the Big Ten season. Rutgers has used exactly 4 subs in each of their last 3 contests. Northwestern has not used more than 3 outside of senior day against Iowa since the front half of the Big Ten season. These are two teams that are very comfortable with a limited rotation, and we expect them both to continue to use that limited rotation today, as that probably should be a handball for Austin. Yeah, it is. It'll be a free kick for Rutgers just across the midfield line.
Yeah, and with the old Big Ten teams coming out, you can just see why the coaches have so much trust in those lineups.
Absolutely.
8 of the 11 Northwestern starters and 6 of the 11 on the Rutgers and the 2 leaders in the conference.
Yeah, in terms of overall number of players listed on teams. Lappy's tripped up by Tiernan. We've had a couple fouls, obviously, but nothing with any real force to it so far. These are two teams that tend not to play the most physical of games, at least compared to other Big Ten Conference members. Not that they're not capable of it, but they tend away from it.
Usually on the receiving end of fouls.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Lappy and Regazzoni in the midfield usually pretty hard to dispossess without getting a little more physical.
Yes, sure enough, we did not see a single yellow card between the two teams in their first matchup. Would be surprised to see anything too physical come out today is what I'm really saying, as Lappy heads that one away. And over the top of the Rutgers bench.
Now there is the more chippy nature of a tournament game.
Of course, as we get into the postseason, you never know how it's going to go.
Depending on what the score is later on.
Now, the thing that helps for both these teams is they have their NCAA tournament resumes pretty secured regardless of the outcome here. Now, obviously, when we talked to both coaches, that was not the thing on their mind. They want to win a Big Ten championship, certainly. But in the back of your mind, having that knowledge that you're not playing for your postseason lives right now has to help at least somewhat.
Yeah, definitely lighten up the pressure on you a little, but you know, Northwestern in the tournament for the first time in a couple years, they want to make their return count.
Absolutely.
And Rutgers last year going 10-0 and then losing in the semifinal.
Right.
I have to imagine, you know, it's not completely forgotten.
Right. I mean, these are two teams with a lot to prove. Rutgers, you know, they still want to prove that they're top dogs in this conference. It's tough when you have 5 non-wins in a conference slate, but it's been them and Penn State for a few years now in terms of talent on the top of the conference, even if it didn't shake out that way in the standings this year, with Michigan State coming on so strong and Nebraska and Wisconsin having good seasons as well. Ohio State, didn't even mention them. They've been phenomenal. And Northwestern surging up after being picked number 11 in the preseason poll.
Yeah, and you didn't know if it was almost like a passing of the torch when Penn State beat Rutgers 2-0 to end their unbeaten season and their long regular season unbeaten run. But both of these teams having to start the tournament on the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bottom 4 seeds.
It just shows you how deep the Big Ten has been this year. With those traditional powers, traditional I say with Rutgers, they've only been at this level for 3-4 years under Coach O'Neill, but they almost feel like a traditional power at this point, joined by these newcomers, these fresher faces. This Northwestern team that, as you mentioned, has a great history of success under Michael Moynihan. You know, shared the Big Ten regular season title in 2016. They were, in my opinion, a change of venue away from winning the Big Ten tournament title in 2017 against Penn State. They were up 1-0, if you don't know, before that game was moved indoors because of an ongoing thunderstorm, indoors to a smaller field that Penn State was then able to capitalize on and score 2 goals and win. But the Wildcats, since that 2017 season, have been down. They have not made the NCAA tournament since then. Since they won a game in that 2017 tournament and fell to eventual Final Four members UCLA in overtime. Lost a lot of seniors off that team, a couple in the NWSL right now, and had to reload. And this group has been the product of that reloading. Trying to see exactly what they can do, but right now it's Rutgers out in front in the early going here. Referee says play on as a little contact happens in the midfield. This game, after starting out very end-to-end, has settled down, but here's the ball over the top towards Tiernan. Haven't seen the ball out of the midfield for a while, but now things breaking open once again. Alessino looking for Haas down the line, and she outruns Lynch to the ball. Ella Haas coming in from the corner, looking for Gilbertson, and it was too far in front. Just not quite enough help for Ella Haas making that excellent run down the left sideline.
Yeah, and Gilbertson a little behind the play, and with that many defenders in the way, it was always going to be a tough cross to try and get around her. But great pace from Haas and a great pass by Alessino to send her way down the line, perfectly weighted around the fullback. But just not enough support in the middle with the likes of Alessino and Del Carmen having to drop into the midfield to make these plays happen.
Lappy jumps in front of Daigle, who calmly plays it back to her back line. So much veteran presence from this Rutgers team, even when things aren't going the way they'd want them to. Kroger breaking down Doucette now on the outside. Gets through Regazzoni, but not through Doucette. She goes down, Kroger does, without a whistle. It's out for a Northwestern throw. Coach O'Neill giving his team a little bit of an applause, and then questioning the official a little bit for the lack of the call. He's got to be happy with the way this Scarlet Knights squad has come out after that 2-loss streak to end the regular season. Gilbertson breaking it down on the near side. Del Carmen free. Can't break down Banks, goes back out for Gilbertson. Tiernan pressuring Austin. And now Lappy with space up top. Lappy sends it in and scores! A banger from Rowan Lappy. Unreal. It's 1-1 here at Martin Stadium.
And as she was shaping up the shoot, I don't know, with it being on her weak foot, if she would try it from distance. We've seen her try these before. You go back to the opener against Xavier earlier on.
I can't believe it, Adam.
Just look at it right here. Thought about it for a moment.
Number 17, Rowan.
McClellan will probably think she should have done better with it.
And I will say, yes, absolutely. For a veteran goalkeeper like McClellan, she's going to feel like she should have done better with that. But I do think, Adam, it's what you said, right? Her weaker foot. We weren't sure she was going to go for goal with that. McClellan certainly wasn't either. She wasn't ready to make that dive, that lunge at the ball. Lappy caught her just off guard enough to sneak it past her, I think.
And pretty perfect technique for it being the weak foot. Got a little bit of swerve as it was going toward McClellan. Just offset it a little bit right before. Again, still one I think she would expect herself to save, but that's a great effort from Lappy.
Absolutely, and suddenly we are level here in Evanston, and the Wildcats come out with some big-time energy.
And although a few of them have came from penalties, you're looking at a defensive mid's 5th goal of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's impressive. It's really impressive what she can do from distance. Rowan Lappy, 3rd on this Northwestern team in points. And that's actually her 6th of the season, Adam. Pardon you. 6 goals, although 3 were off penalties, as you mentioned. To go along with 3 assists, give Danica Austin her 3rd assist of the season. I don't think she thought she was going to get one, just setting Lappy up in the middle of the field, but she'll take it as she settles over this free kick now. Austin and Lappy, the 2 captains, hook up to level things, as that ball from Austin doesn't quite get where she wanted it to go. And that's exactly what you want if you're Coach Michael Moynihan, from your veteran leadership after you go down early yet again. Alessino. Del Carmen gets on the end of it. Looking back for Alessino. Has Bodie in the middle. Can't quite get it to her. Del Carmen. Oh, what a save. McClellan just parries it wide. And the Wildcats continue this excellent run of play.
And great link up on the edge of the box. Thought Del Carmen may go for the far post, and I feel like McClellan must have thought was thinking the same thing. Tried switching it up, going to the near post.
And she nearly beat her.
Just able to tip it around, but still able to get a corner out of it.
Third corner for Northwestern. Rutgers yet to have one. Wildcats have settled into this game so well, just over halfway through the first half. Alessino looking for Lappy, past her. Regazzoni couldn't get on the end of it, and Del Carmen saves it from going out. Turns, can't get past Lowry and takes it right off the midsection on the clearance from Kurla. How about the work Araya Del Carmen, just as she always seems to, has done in the early going today?
Yeah, just so versatile. Lining up down the middle, but able to drop back with the mids and drift out wide. Nearly got that cut back onto her left foot. But good defense in the end to prevent it.
Adam, I want to talk about a stat that Coach Moynihan told you that we weren't aware of until we talked to him this week. Coach Moynihan told us every game of the Big Ten season, Araya Del Carmen, that's 10 games, has either had a goal, an assist, or drawn a penalty. And the Wildcats were able to cash in all those penalties. They did not miss one in Big Ten play. So she directly created a goal in every single Big Ten game Northwestern played. I mean, that is really impressive for anybody.
Yeah, the biggest thing he kept emphasizing was just her ability to draw penalties and how unnoticed they can go, as that's a bit of a careless turnover at the back.
Poor pass from Phillips, coming forward, deflected shot, but nothing to it in the end from Meisel. Rabin collects easily.
Bit of a let off to have a shot from distance like that in that
she
kind
had
of
options
situation, especially with Danica Austin that close to deflect the effort.
Exactly right. She had options. She had Lowry in the middle available to her. And Tiernan was steaming in from the other end, as Rutgers, as they are wont to do, has had their wingers switch sides in the early going here. Tiernan to the right, and Kroger now to the left, the near side. This is every game I've watched Rutgers play this year. This isn't to say they do it in every single game. Every game I have watched Rutgers play this year, they have switched their wingers at least one time. So not new, certainly. As Tiernan comes towards the middle. Now Lowry with options in front. Looking for Lynch. Pass broken up by Lappy. And pardon me, that was Daigle out in front of her. 8, not 9. As Gilbertson comes back the other way for Bodie. And that ball's going to be too far for Haas. For a second, I thought she might get to it. So much speed down that far side for Ella Haas, but not quite.
Yeah, it did perfectly for her to get that touch as it was going on the ground.
We see our first sub of the game, and it is Neve Cashin. We have not seen her in either of Rutgers' final 2 regular season games. So Cashin, the grad student, out of England, will join up. Primarily plays as a back, but it looks like she's going to be in the midfield for Rutgers here. As a quick water break ensues. Not sure exactly what the holdup is on the field.
I think it just letting her tie her shoes over there in the middle.
There we go. So everybody gets a bit of a water break for it. Yeah. Daigle takes an early rest, so Cashin will join right in the center of that midfield for Rutgers. What an interesting move from Coach O'Neill, Adam. I mentioned we haven't seen Cashin in a little while. She's only appeared in 4 games now this whole season. What a big-time move to pull out of your pocket in the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, and when those games to end the season don't go your way, maybe it does inspire some more change. Maybe try to mix things up. Especially,
absolutely.
I mean, Northwestern has, with the exception of that turnover at the back, really controlled the tempo, even leading to their equalizer, but certainly after. So just trying anything to offset them at the moment.
Over the top comes the header from Del Carmen. She can't quite run it down, but does earn a Northwestern throw. With Cashin, the player has a lot of experience within your system. English native. There's Tiernan on the dispossession. Got to have some confidence in what she can do. And again, we don't know about injury status. We asked Coach O'Neill whether he had any updates to give us on players coming back from injuries, players who had recently been injured. He said there's nothing to report this week. So we are unaware as to whether injuries play any role here. But Cashin comes on, and the big move in the middle of this first half, we'll see how it changes things for both sides. There's Brocious getting on the end of it. Rutgers coming forward, but Cashin wasn't where Kroger expected her to be, but now she comes through on the other end. Cashin charging ahead past Bodie, and now sets it off to the side for Tiernan. Tiernan with options, looking back for Cashin, and Bodie walled her off very nicely. Easy pickup for Rabin in the end.
Yeah, mix-ups both ways that really caused that counter to start. Looks like Rutgers had played it wrong, and then it's a bit of a turnover right after from Northwestern. But Bodie doing a good job of dropping from her attacking mid-spot, applying the pressure. Didn't know if she would go for the tactical foul in the midfield, opts just to keep up with her, and able to interrupt it in the end.
When you're as important of a player as Bodie is, Adam, sometimes you want to be wary of that tactical foul this early in the contest. Never want to put yourself on a yellow too soon.
Certainly a little easier for the attacking mids than the defensive ones to play on a yellow, but with the potential intensity of the game.
Right, I mean,
definitely
now
good to make it out of the first half with that one if you can.
Absolutely, and now with overtime as a possibility, of course, you never know just how intense this contest could get. There is no shared points anymore. Del Carmen, and it comes off of her. She tried to slide and keep it in. Continuing her incredibly high activity level, but Meisel won the battle that round.
Yeah, great move initially to get around Meisel, but just a little nudge in the back of Del Carmen kind of helped her just overhit that last one towards the end, but pulled off the initial skill successfully.
Bodie cuts off the pass, gets it back from Gilbertson. Play and catch. Gilbertson trying to break this Rutgers defense down, but they just had too many legs in the way. And now Kroger slides around Lappy. Great move. Passes a bit behind Brocious, and her sliding attempt came off Del Carmen's leg.
Great positioning from Regazzoni there just to slow things down after Lappy was taken out of the picture, forced that back pass. And the link-up play within the middle third has been a little off for Rutgers. A few counters now really could have been sparked had it been a little cleaner.
Lappy with a gorgeous ball to Haas, who gets on the end of it. She's got Del Carmen in the middle. Pass towards her, and she's walled off by Banks with the giveaway. Gilbertson on the back end. Ball deflected. Meisel made up for her mistake really well there with that wrapped thigh. Gilbertson wants it back from Austin. She goes towards the middle instead. Curling ball is headed away and deflected towards Kroger, who clears. How about the pass over the top from Lappy to Haas? And then once again, Cassidy Banks standing strong in the middle of the field defensively for the Scarlet Knights.
Yeah, Northwestern really playing predominantly in the middle and down the right, but every midfielder conscious of that switch to Haas. And when it came off, it's led to some pretty good chances. That one really turned out more dangerous than it maybe should have been after Meisel miscued her clearance a bit. But that switch of play looking real dangerous early on.
Fluchel does very well to find Brocious, but her pass easily cut off by Doucette. And Rutgers midfield, after a great start, has looked a bit more out of sync, out of sorts since probably the first 10 or so minutes. Is that fair to say, Adam?
Yeah, definitely. I think as they were dominating early on, it was making life a lot easier to try and get into the final third, and that's when it was looking like a potential downpour to start, especially when you do get that early goal. So we wait to see what they can do here.
Well, here's another chance for Brocious coming to Kroger, and didn't really give Kroger any chances to do anything with it. Gilbertson and now Alessino, and she'll check up and wait to send a real surge forward. Gilbertson, now Alessino again. Working against Cashin. The only sub of the game so far. Bodie can't quite find Del Carmen coming forward. Once again marked by Banks on the back end. And Regazzoni comes through. Bodie from distance, blocked by Banks. Gilbertson another try, spins it just wide. She was trying to get that one to come back into the far post. Looked like McClellan probably had it covered anyways. And we will now see the second Rutgers sub, Allison Lowry, who's done great work so far, as we get one more look at that shot from Gilbertson. Just couldn't get it to curve back into that far post. Lowry will come out. Gianna Romano, the most typically used Rutgers sub up top, will come in. And it'll be Kroger sliding over to the middle of that Rutgers forward trio. So Romano out to the near side up top as the Scarlet Knights set up for a goal kick. 13 minutes and change to play in the first half. It's been a really exciting half of soccer so far. Another not great ball. Haas cuts it off. Lynch does well to not allow her any room coming forward. Now the Wildcats getting ready to send their first sub in, but not on this whistle, of course, with Rutgers possessing. It will be Brooke Miller, as is so often the case. That ball went out of play. AR had his flag up. Brooke Miller, who will now enter, the only Northwestern sub who has been used for more than 15 minutes in each of their past 4 games, Adam. The only one.
Wildcat substitution.
She'll come on for Lily Gilbertson on the near side now.
Yeah, and she was someone that Moynihan was very complimentary of after that Iowa loss. She gets the rare start with Regazzoni out injured on the right. The result didn't go their way in the end, but did a good job leaving her impression.
Right, I mean, for a true first year who doesn't have the international experience of a Regazzoni, she's looked so poised when she's had chances to play. Gets the ball early here, down the near side, and spins nicely to get away from the initial defensive pressure. No foul called. I think that's the right decision, but Miller's still down and now limping it off as Rutgers goes the other way. So much space for Tiernan, and she loves to eat it up. Here comes Riley Tiernan, finally tracked down for by Haas. Tiernan with hordes of white jerseys surrounding her. Cashin. Romano does well to play it down, but Austin takes it away. And Brooke Miller right back into the play to help Northwestern maintain possession for at least a second. Brocious knocked it through to Tiernan. Got it back! And the shot is blocked by Phillips, sacrificing the body. That one had some pace from Riley Tiernan.
Yeah, played a 1-2 off of Regazzoni's attempted interception. Lined it up for herself after it. And it's been a lot of those where a Northwestern player will intercept the attempt from a Rutgers players. They try to link up. It
just bounces right back, yeah.
The bounce going the Scarlet Knights' ways way more often than not. But Northwestern, especially after that early 10 minutes, doing a good job really crowding the back. What looks to be a chance to go at a back 3 eventually turns into the whole midfield dropping, and you have to turn around as they did on that last one.
Yeah, Lappy and Regazzoni have been so aware in the defensive end of that midfield. That ball deflects through, but an easy play for Rabin in the end.
And they have to, with just the way Rutgers lines up with that forward 3, and then Roche just always getting forward. If one of the 6s is ever lapsing, you're probably looking at a numerical disadvantage.
You never want to be even straight 3-on-3, let alone when Roches comes through and makes it 4-on-3. As Rabin will just clear out the side. You know, with some goalkeepers, I would call that a miss kick. Mia Rabin seems to be plenty comfortable just playing it out of the sideline for an opposing team throw when she's got any sort of pressure near her. Not a goalkeeper to take the more risky route. And there's certainly some merit to that approach, as Northwestern ends up winning it away in the end.
Yeah, and they're not a team that concedes often when in position.
Right.
You know, they're caught out, either some sort of set piece or a counter. So you get the numbers back, you're going to have confidence that they can get the job done.
Absolutely. And that's not what Rabin is in there to do. She's not in there to play with her feet.
Because that was probably, in my opinion at least, where Riley Fitzpatrick had the advantage when you look at when they were splitting halves in the non-conference and the beginning of the conference season. I think Rabin was the better one at making saves. You look at that game-winning penalty save against Butler. But just the distribution
from Fitzpatrick
may have fell Fitzpatrick's way.
And the thing with Fitzpatrick, right, is that they're grooming her to be the 3-year starter. She's a true first year. Rabin is a grad student. She'll be gone after this year. It'll be Fitzpatrick's team at the back. And I think they're happy to have Rabin finish out this year as a starter and Fitzpatrick prepare behind Rabin to be the starter and the leader of this defense for the next 3 seasons.
And just so good for her not to come into that next season just completely green.
Right.
She got, again,
now, she will be completely green because they wear green goalkeepers' jerseys, but I see what you mean, Adam.
Played the first, because they split longer into the season than I think a lot of people would have assumed, especially when you do in that conference opener against Purdue. You know, you thought, especially with some of those tough non-conference games, ranked Xavier and ranked Stanford, that by then maybe it would be a 1-goalkeeper system. But that should prove to be great down the line.
Regazzoni and Alessina with a nice connection that sends Bodie ahead. And now she'll track back for just a second. Lappy to open things up. She's got Austin, and she'll play her on with Romano coming to pressure. Austin gets by her. in towards the box. Danica Austin playing to nobody in particular. Miller wasn't over here, but somehow gets the ball back and ends up with a Northwestern throw.
And
That was a nice little adventure for Danica Austin.
And one of the most unique things about this 3-6-1 is just seeing the center backs bomb forward and trying to take people off the dribble as Austin so often does.
Well, that's something that Austin has done. Oh, wow, a lot of contact between Romano and Miller, no whistle. And now Del Carmen, a lot of hand fighting, and the foul will go against Fluchel, who I think was just frustrated with Del Carmen shielding her and just gives away the Northwestern free kick. But to go back to what you were saying, it's something Danica Austin's done throughout her 4-year career. Now that they have that three-of-the-back system, it makes a lot more sense for her to do it, certainly, within the system. But what did you see there in that foul on Fluchel?
Really just kind of what you went to. You're getting shielded off the ball. You can't really get around it. It was
Frustration foul, if you will.
and then when you start it, you're not going to let up and let
Right.
Del Carmen get around you. So it's
Right.
kind of just make the ref play his hand, call it. But dangerous opportunity here.
Alessino sends it in. Look into the back post. Phillips got to it, but not with her head, and it's an easy clear for Rutgers, who will look to counter. Tiernan against Brooke Miller, and she'll get past her. Riley Tiernan charging down the far side, as she so often has done in the early going in this game, but Miller got there in the end. Oh, wow, they're going to call that foul against Brooke Miller. Surprised to see the whistle go that way. Brooke Miller is too. Let's take another look here. I guess Miller does make the initial contact with the right hand before Tiernan hauls her down. Looks like a good call on the review. What did you see, Adam?
Definitely seemed like some inevitable contact.
Right.
More than intentional and of an effect. She was already cutting back. It did slightly, pull her back as she was turning, but did not expect it to get called. It's not a bad call per se, but...
Well, Tiernan did sort of force the whistle by then pulling Miller down after the fact. Kind of a canny play from the sophomore.
Yeah, at that point, tough to just fully turn it on her.
And Kroger will play it in. Low line drive, gets through to the back post, across the goal, and cleared away in the end by Northwestern. Oh, what a chance from Fluchel at the back post. But she can't pay it off, and it's a corner for the Scarlet Knights. And there's a couple players slow to get up. Fluchel was hobbling a bit as Northwestern brings 2 subs on. And I can't tell who that is down. It looks like Lynch, Allison Lynch maybe, now getting to her feet and walking it off. Her and Doucette came together there at the end, you can see,
And
with Doucette clearing it away. Yeah.
great defensive play by Doucette there. Rabin was trying to get back across, but very dangerous opportunity there if she's able to get a clear shot at goal, but just able to get into position in time.
Paige Miller, you see there, coming on for Northwestern.
Scarlet Knights corner kick.
Very
Another corner
Sam Kroger.
for Kroger.
Very heart-and-mouth moment seeing the ball just roll across the 6-yard box. You got to have so much caution trying to get on the end of it without putting it into your own goal. A lot of Northwestern players just have to watch that one, and Doucette fortunately was in the right position.
I believe Ingrid Falls was the other sub for Northwestern. We've seen the Wildcats have trouble defensively with this stack formation on a corner. This time, Falls gets the defensive header initially. Lynch didn't get anything on it, and Paige Miller clears it away. Bodie trying to run it down, comes together with Meisel, and Meisel gets the better of her.
Paige Miller and number 23.
So the 3 subs, Adam, that we thought we would see for Northwestern have come in. Falls, Paige Miller, Brooke Miller on the field for the Wildcats now. Ingrid Falls slotting in on that far side in the midfield, replacing Ella Haas. Miller, of course, taking out Aurea Del Carmen up top.
And it's the normal window where they would do it, kind of just give an extended halftime to Del Carmen and Haas, make it 20 minutes instead of 15.
Absolutely. Another contested clearance there from Phillips, as Rutgers will now bring on
Scarlet
likely their
Knights
2 final subs of the half.
substitutions. Number 2.
This is more typical. Gia Gierman comes on up top. We expected to see her. And Haley Gutowski. These are the subs that we thought Rutgers would be making at some point in this half. Gutowski and Gierman come on. Kroger heads to the bench, as does Tiernan, to give them that similar sort of extended halftime break. We've seen both Kroger and Tiernan sprinting all over the field for the first 40 minutes for the Scarlet Knights. So a bit of a refresh going forward for both sides. As we head towards halftime, can a team break through heading into the locker room as Falls tripped from behind by her fellow number 23. Gutowski comes in and commits a foul within about 25 seconds. I guess she feels like, hey, I don't have any buildup that would give me a yellow card. I might as well commit one here.
And it's far enough to where you would assume it's not going to turn into a ball into the box and potential opportunity, but
Well, you know what they say
Still.
about assumptions, Adam.
they're still.
Alcino's got a big leg. That's all I'm saying.
And they are sending numbers forward, just done. Phillips staying back, who's a usual set-piece threat, but
Alcino does send it into the box, all the way over the top, and McClellan punches away. Lappy right back in. And again, playing catch in a different kind of way as Alcino gets onto it. Ahead for Paige Miller, and she couldn't direct it towards Regazzoni. But the Wildcats continue to put some pressure on. Austin for Brooke Miller. No relation between the Millers, but they do connect once again on this pass down the line. Paige in the corner. Cross didn't come off the part of her foot she was looking for. And it's a goal kick for the Scarlet Knights with 2:10 to play in half number 1.
very suffocating defense from the Scarlet Knights on the sides of the boxes. Both starters are out at the moment, but they know just how dangerous Northwestern can be down the wings. So point of emphasis to really crowd the flanks, not really letting an uncontested ball come into the box.
Yeah, for the most part, the strategy of forcing Northwestern in the middle has worked, except for that one time when Lappy used it to go ahead and score. But hey, other than that, it's seen a lot of success. And you'd think those opportunities to shoot from distance will be there continually for Lappy, the way Rutgers has structured their defense. As that ball's played in the middle very well by Cashin. Nearly got it back off a deflection. But instead, Ingrid Falls will play it the other way. Kurla sends it right back in. We haven't seen Mason at all in this first half. Emily Mason, who's been the starting center back for almost this entire year for Rutgers. You wonder if there's some sort of injury situation there. Don't want to speculate. But we've seen Kurla do very well in her place. So hasn't looked like much of a notable drop-off for Rutgers as Miller with a bit of a misplay on the near side. Gives the Scarlet Knights a chance as the half dwindles.
And again, when you concede 6 in your final 4 games, there's sometimes cause to change something at the back. Again, we don't know if there was an injury from now to when we talked to Coach O'Neill.
It's hard to see numbers on the sideline with Rutgers wearing the warm-ups they wear. But for now, Kurla, who's on the ball again, has done a great job. And again, she had been a main sub for Rutgers in the past few games. It's not like the move came completely out of nowhere. And really all season she's been a main sub, but it is a bit surprising. Ball ahead for the Scarlet Knights. Turning and getting some space is Gearman. Gearman against Austin. Lays it off. Austin got a piece. Romano is blocked away by Phillips. Excellent defending by Danica Austin. And that will do it for the first half. One last chance for Rutgers came to nothing. And it's 1-1 between the second-seeded Wildcats and the seventh-seeded Scarlet Knights after a fascinating half of soccer.
Yeah, and that very potentially could have been a much more dangerous opportunity.
Northwestern, it'll be Rutgers' kickoff, but Northwestern now going right to left on your screen, south to north. Rutgers, of course, left to right, going the other way. We do have an update to share with you. We were speculating about Emily Mason's availability. We have received word she is injured and out for at least this game. She was injured at the end of the Michigan State, or at some point during the Michigan State game, I believe, near the end, but she was injured during that game. She is out for this one at the very least. That's all we can tell you. She won't be playing. Both teams back to their starting lineups to begin the second half. Near giveaway for Northwestern, but Regazzoni does end up getting it to Alcino. Here comes Haas once again. She has stormed by Lynch repeatedly today. All the way into the box. Haas is cut off very well by Kurla, but earns a corner as she limps in towards the middle. I think probably just got studs from Kurla into her foot is what it looks like there. As we see Haas coming in again. And yeah, just foot-to-foot collision between her and Kurla. Hope it wasn't anything worse than that, but she'll stay in.
Some quick pain, but you can walk it. Usually it gets walked off rather easily.
Especially in the postseason.
Yeah.
As Alcino goes short. Wildcats have gone short on half of their 4 corners today. Alcino. Ooh, looking for Regazzoni, but once again put that ball a little bit too far away from her. Doucette looking for Lappy. Banks gets there first. Clears it over Austin. Rutgers can regain their shape. 4 corners now for Northwestern, just the 1 for the Scarlet Knights. Wildcats have not been able to capitalize yet on any of those chances. Bit of a misplay from Meisel. Wow, Del Carmen with a nifty move. Gilbertson Going for goal, and right at McClellan. Do you think that was a shot?
I'd assume that was meant for Haas and
Meant
just a
for
little
Haas.
misplaced. That's a
The
rather
trajectory
ambitious.
of the ball certainly made it look like a shot, but yeah, probably going for Haas.
A little low if you are going to try. And
Yes,
got to loop it
certainly.
over from there. And just to go back to how they got that last corner, Haas's pace up against Lynch, she certainly has the advantage there, trying to exploit it right from the go in the second half. Just wonder how many times we'll see Northwestern try to isolate her in that matchup. It's usually looked pretty dangerous when the service to her has came off.
Tiernan earns a throw. Yeah, when the Wildcats have been able to switch, it has been very effective. Alessino squeaks it through for Bodie. Bit of a triangle for Gilbertson here. But she'll discard that triangle and send it back to the back line. That's not quite technical terminology there, but that is what happened. Defensive header from Lynch just ends up sending it back to Doucette. Haas for Doucette once again. Alessino with space. Ball deflected as it got through, and Meisel able to get to it before Gilbertson. All the way through. Lowry's not going to beat Phillips to that one. She'll just play back for Rabin, who sends it back over. Tiernan. And now ahead, coming forward is Daigle, cut off by Phillips. Her clearance goes right to Kroger. Rutgers dangerous. Kroger's shot is deflected by Regazzoni. She's still on the ball. Regazzoni can't get it, finally gets it out of there. Felt like every Wildcat clearance was meeting a Rutgers foot right there. Scarlet Knights continue to look threatening, but the header from Kurla comes away and out of play.
Yeah, great initial defense from Phillips, getting her body in there, shutting off that attack. A little bit of a questionable clearance, sending it down the middle. I know numbers dictated, her decision not to necessarily go to the wing, but plenty of risk playing it where she did, and it nearly resulted in a chance.
Scarlet Knights coming forward again. Kroger with space, steps into it, lays it off for Daigle. Her pass couldn't find Tiernan. Wildcat defense was there again, and then Del Carmen slips in front of Lynch. Caught her unawares, gets it back for Northwestern. Regazzoni opens it up for Austin.
That's definitely one of those times you give your teammates an earful for not letting you know she was incoming.
I was about to say it, Adam. I'm glad you did. As the header just a bit offline from Gilbertson. Couldn't do much with that ball anyways. Wildcats able to form up that press at least a little bit as the throw is knocked away towards Bodie. Bodie again from Lappy. Looking down the line. Del Carmen putting pressure. Banks was thinking about just letting that one run. Instead turns around and plays it to Bodie. Her and Austin come together and Tiernan gets the best of it. Go out for a Rutgers throw. And now Tiernan comes up hobbling just a bit.
Elizabeth Sheedy, please report to the press box
As
at the top of the stands. Elizabeth
Tiernan.
Sheedy to the press box.
She didn't even look at the bench, so
Yeah, she's not coming out.
Yeah,
I would be shocked to see
just-
Riley Tiernan intentionally exit a game of this level.
not even to let them know she's fine. I don't think there was any assumption across the board that it was bad. Just couldn't exactly tell what she was nursing as she was limping.
Well, we've seen a lot of players come together today. Nothing in any of it, of course, but, those studs hurt when they go into your lower body, even if you can walk it off pretty quickly. Gilbertson walled off. A lot of contact as it goes out for a goal kick. I opened this broadcast, Adam, and we both talked about it. I tell you about it, these are not two of the more physical teams in the Big Ten. Over just the past 15 or so minutes, this game has gotten a lot more physical than it was. Still no cards really even close to coming out, of course, but something to monitor as things continue. That clearance blasted out for a throw.
Second half intensity should definitely bump up, even with the score still tied.
Remember, we are back to overtime, and if we get a little closer to a potential overtime, we'll explain the new structure for the postseason overtime. Just a little bit different than the way things used to play out. So overtime starting this season has been restricted to only postseason games, in which you can't have a draw, of course. Somebody's got to advance. And we'll detail our understanding of those new rules. If we get a little bit closer, I'm teasing you a little bit, you know? If we get a little closer to that eventuality.
I didn't mind them. Well, I'll finish that.
We'll talk about that later. Gilbertson coming in on the far side. Cross blocked off of her foot. Now for another Rutgers throw. You know, for as much trouble as Lynch has had with Haas on what is now the near side, Meisel has seemed to handle Gilbertson quite well on the opposite side.
Yeah, and definitely think she's had help more often than Lynch has had against
That's
Haas.
true.
They definitely have shifted the defense over a little bit to that side. And Northwestern, similarly, like they're tilting the offense towards Gilbertson's side and kind of leaving Haas on more of an island.
I think that's intentional for both teams, almost certainly. As here is Haas again, turning past Lynch. Lynch staying on her hip. No space for Haas right now, and she'll just let it run out for a throw. Doucette. Long ball into the middle, towards Del Carmen. She can't get to it. Kicked in! It's a goal for Northwestern. Not sure whether Bodie got a touch. They counted for Gilbertson initially. It's a goal for the Wildcats no matter how it goes down. 2-1 in the early going in the second half.
And I think that's going to go down as a goal for Alessino on the ball in, and it just bounces right in that sweet spot between the goalkeeper and the back line where, you know, the defense is wary about that going in as an own goal. The goalie doesn't know if they can come out.
Doucette wants it. She's claiming it for now, yeah. We'll see how this goes down initially. It's an excellent ball from Doucette. Bounces over the top of both Del Carmen and Banks, and is it redirected by Gilbertson coming in? I'm not sure. Either way, it's not a very good play by McClellan to let that one slip right past her.
Yeah, my mistake.
They're officially getting it to Gilbertson, I should say, first of all. They're giving Doucette the primary assist on a goal for Gilbertson. But yes, continue, Adam.
Doucette with the ball in, not Alessino. And
yeah.
I think you could tell with the way Del Carmen and Gilbertson talked and then immediately pointed at Doucette that it was her ball. Gilbertson didn't touch it. And that's actually a very similar goal that they conceded to start their downfall, Michigan's comeback in that 3-2 loss. It was on a set piece there. It had the same exact bounce. McClellan didn't come out for it. It took that first bounce. It went in. And it wasn't a set piece, but pretty mirror image. Same side of the field, same outswinging ball.
Absolutely. And this wasn't, not a set piece, but like you said, similar ball. And it's just not something you expect to see as often as we have seen it down the stretch of this season from a goalkeeper as seasoned as McClellan. Del Carmen with a nice slipped pass into her from Bodie. Turns, looks, Meisel cuts it off. Gilbertson with space and time. Lofts one over the top and out of play. But going back to McClellan's play on that ball, Adam, she just gets caught in no man's land there. She doesn't go after the player. She doesn't go after the ball. She just stays home in the middle of the six. Don't you just expect better from a goalkeeper who's been with the program for 5 years?
Yeah, and especially, it happened 2 games ago. You may have expected a little more aggression just with that in the back of her mind. Like, okay, I can't risk that happening again. But just maybe it was the communication between her and the center backs, but just
that's something interesting to point out, right? I mean, obviously Banks has been starting all season. She marked Del Carmen well on that particular play. It was Kurla on the back end with Gilbertson who seemingly had the miscommunication with McClellan. Here comes Del Carmen again. Tried to lay it off for Alessino. Meisel saving the day one more time from that left back position.
And that's really just a vintage play that they've been doing all season. Del
Yeah.
Carmen dropping, turning, and then Alessino making that run in the vacated space. Just slightly behind Alessino was the pass from Del Carmen. But
And Northwestern, it's just the way it looked at the start of this game, right, Adam? Rutgers had that early goal, just 7 or 8 minutes in, just like Northwestern's, and all of a sudden, a switch flipped. They looked like they were on the aggressive end for the next 5 minutes, always threatening to score another one. Northwestern was able to win it back from that point. Can Rutgers do the same thing? Remains to be seen.
yeah, as of now, Northwestern not responding, but following up on the second goal as they did with the first. But chance here maybe.
And Rutgers coming the other way for the first time in a while. It's Tiernan on the ball towards the middle of the field. She always wants to look for her shot from distance. Instead lays it off for Lowry, who caught her own player up top, I believe, there. As it caroms out towards the center line. Looked like it came off Brocious up high on a dangerous shot from Allison Lowry. And I don't mean dangerous to her player. I mean, that one might have gone in if it was able to get through that last line of defense. Northwestern wins it away. Let's take another look. As Lowry rips it with the left foot. Yeah, right off Brocious, up under that arm. That cannot feel good.
Yeah, she went to grab the elbow, just showing how strong that effort was. Had it
Right, had it gotten
Had it
through.
been able to go through. I mean, didn't really advance far enough to really project how, if it would have gone
Exactly,
over or not.
the
but
trajectory,
clean
yeah.
contact on the volley, all we can say.
And we know Lowry is certainly capable. She was the one who scored against Northwestern earlier. Alessino catches the Rutgers defense out, looking for Gilbertson. She was trying to wall off Meisel. No whistle. Bodie turning. Gilbertson again. Now Del Carmen with space. Haas has nobody with her. Del Carmen goes the other way looking for Bodie, and it loops over the top. Wildcats will settle a bit. Austin coming in for a cross, way overcooks it. That one was hit with some vigor, certainly, for Danica Austin. But the Wildcat chance fizzles.
Yeah, Del Carmen tried finding that ball to Bodie herself. Maybe would have been better off finding Ella Haas wide open on the side. You could see the two just had a little exchange after it. Nothing tense, more Del Carmen just acknowledging it was a possibility.
I want to go back to something we've been talking about. Obviously, it hurts to lose Emily Mason the way that Rutgers did at the end of that game against Michigan State for at least this game. But this is now a Scarlet Knights defense that, coming off of a really great stretch to start the season, an elite stretch to start the season, has now conceded 8 goals in their past 5 games, and this one isn't even finished yet. This is not the Rutgers defense we saw at the start of the year, Adam.
Yeah, definitely. And now a little unique situation today, neither goal coming inside of the box, assuming Gilbertson didn't end up flicking on that cross. But they've definitely been a little leaky recently, and that's what's kind of odd when you look at it. They're top 3 in goals conceded overall in the conference, but you have that rough end to the season. It kind of goes hand in hand with you slipping down to the 7.
Let's look again at this foul here. Tiernan did come through the back of Lappy's cleat. You can understand her upsetness. When your shoe comes off and you get called for the foul, it seems a bit unfair. But the whistle goes against Rutgers there. Continue with what you were saying. Sorry, Adam.
But yeah, no, and it's not the same defensive form they had to start the season.
Right.
And if the way Northwestern's looking, it doesn't look like they're finishing this game with 2. It's not to say Rutgers is going to be stuck at 1, but
right. I mean, certainly
offense
Rutgers always dangerous.
The
always
offense is
dangerous.
certainly finding its rhythm here.
Yeah,
and
I
you
mean,
may
Northwestern
expect to see a more conventional goal than the other 2.
They've been
coming up.
inches away up the middle now, like 3 or 4 times since that second goal. I mean, Alessino nearly got on the end of that one. Can the Scarlet Knights get something going in the counter? Kroger to Lowry. And just not connecting with Brocious.
And not to say they're due, but the 3 top scorers, Bodie, Alessino, and Del Carmen, neither of the 3 have scored on this one.
It's true,
You would
although
expect-
Lappy now joins that top 3 with her 6th, so make it a top 4 after her early goal. Alessino's pass blocked very nicely, and then Banks kind of thrown into the ball by Alessino. Tough to not get a whistle there, and just had to take that one straight on. You know, as rough as parts of this Rutgers defense have looked today, I think you got to credit Cassidy Banks. She's put in real yeoman's work on the back line as she's deflecting yet another ball out for a corner right there.
Certainly holding it down in her center back spot, and she's been busy with the amount of times Bodie and Alessino come out of the back. And
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
keen you have to be to the wingers if your fullback is to get beaten.
And just to follow up with Rutgers as Alessino sets for this corner on that defensive stat that we talked about, I'll wait for Alessino to go ahead and take it before I get to that nugget. Ball towards the edge of the 6. Regazzoni leaping, can't get to it, and it's headed away by Meisel. Haas plays one back in. And Fluchel is the first one to it this time. Tiernan turning against Lappy, working, looking, spinning to the right. Nowhere to go. Back into her own corner. Rutgers with some nervy moments, and they give it away to Haas. Gilbertson spinning, looking, surrounded by red jerseys. She'll play it back to Regazzoni. Ball in towards the top, looking for Bodie on the back end. Doucette flies in, she wanted a second, and it comes out for a Rutgers goal kick all the way into the parking lot. But again, back to that Rutgers defense, Adam. I mentioned 8 goals in their last 5 games, with this one not even being over. In their first 14, the Rutgers defense conceded 8 goals. So 8 in the first 14, 8 in the last 5. It's a trend that is concerning heading into the deeper parts of the postseason.
And then part of that does have to deal with, you know, the conference schedule. Not that they
Certainly, being a
yeah.
little bit tougher down the stretch, yep. But here come the Wildcats one more time. Bodie for Gilbertson, and then the return pass a bit behind. Fluchel able to defend it. Now Lowry tracking back deeper than she usually does. Plays it back to her defense. And now Lowry pressured by Regazzoni, and it's taken away by Bodie. Del Carmen turning, looking, giving off to Haas. Ella Haas into the middle for Alessino, just missed. Del Carmen with a chance, spinning. Now Haas for Regazzoni. She wants a shot, through to McClellan, but she'll scoop it up with ease. Northwestern, how many times can we use the word dangerous without overusing it? These last 10 minutes have been a different level from the Wildcats.
And that ball just from Haas, just too high for Alessino. Maybe if it had been one of the slightly taller members of the forward line, a little bit of a better chance to get on the end of it.
And Rutgers just can't get it out of their own end. I mean, this is getting a bit ridiculous. And once again, the Wildcats putting pressure on, yeah.
And to go back to the defense, I mentioned how it was the conference late, but 3 against Michigan, 2 against Minnesota. The former missed the playoffs. I'll finish after this.
Yeah, and Minnesota, of course, the 8 seed as Rutgers starts this clearance. Those are not the top teams in this conference. Not teams with a real chance to go to the NCAA tournament unless Minnesota pulls off some major upsets in the Big Ten tournament. That's not the type of teams you want to be giving up multiple goals to finish what I think you were going to say, Adam. Let me know if I got it right.
Yeah, right on the same topic.
Alessino against Banks. Working to her left, and Banks cuts off the pass. Bodie. Banks again. Cassidy Banks is a one-woman defense for Rutgers right now.
And just compare where Alessino was picking up the ball in the first half.
Right.
Always kind of either on her own defensive half or in the middle third at best. Now every time attacking third, space to turn and drive.
Rutgers just can't string 2 passes together, but yes, absolutely. Alessino has been in the offense fully all half, it seems like. Ball over the top, Haas not on the same page, and it'll be another Rutgers goal kick here.
Now, if you're Northwestern, you got to capitalize on this sooner rather than later. You would hate to go through this long stretch of dominance and then somehow see yourself pegged back to 2-2.
And this I'm not surprised to see, although I am surprised to see who the substitution comes from. We have Gearman coming in for Lowry here. Lowry, not the one I would have pointed the finger to if I was Coach O'Neill. Not to say that he's doing that, of course. But she has, in fairness, been running all over the place, trying to track back and help the defense in the early going. And Gearman looked dangerous in a few moments late in that first half. So it will be the sophomore forward out of Hamilton, New Jersey, Gia Gearman. A lot of G's in that name. I'm sorry, Gia. Who will enter for the Scarlet Knights.
Yeah, it's a like-for-like sub in the front line. So just didn't know if, as of now they haven't, but if they will look to maybe mix up the formation. And
yeah, we'll see. I will say, Gearman has a bit more pace up top. Could be something to that. But yeah, 2 central forwards swapping for Rutgers. Gearman, Lowry has been Rutgers' leading scorer. She's got 7 goals and 4 assists, although only one of those 7 goals came in Big Ten play. As the Alessino can't keep that one in. And for Gearman, much more limited minutes, to be fair. Has only 2 goals in her 18 games. But again, has not played nearly the same volume of minutes as Lowry, and they see her as a really important piece for the future in what is a pretty veteran Rutgers squad. Lowry, of course, a junior. Has seen a lot of time in the lineup these past few years. Bodie coming ahead. Flushell is whistled. No whistle. Pardon me. Came from the stands. I think that's a good no call there. Referee says, get up. Let's keep going. As the Scarlet Knights continue on.
There.
Yes, definitely is looking for it. We have seen a very consistent whistle, it must be said, from head referee Chico Grajeda today. As Lappy finds Del Carmen coming forward again. Alessino an option in the middle. Looking for her. Guess who? Cassidy Banks gets another foot to another centering pass. And the Scarlet Knights come away once more unscathed. Without Cassidy Banks, it feels like it would be 7-1. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but goodness gracious, as she saved her team's bacon on the back line over these past 15 minutes. And as we approach 15 minutes since that Northwestern go-ahead goal, with about 25 to play in this second half, I want to revisit something we heard from Mike O'Neill as Rutgers comes forward one more time in the week leading up. A really important quote, I think, Adam. As Tiernan comes towards the middle, working on Austin, lays it off for Cashin. Neve Cashin. Haven't called her name much, and that foul is going to go against Gearman. But the quote I'm referring to, and Adam, I'm sure you remember, we talked to Coach O'Neill about how he approaches games like this as a coaching staff. And he said, you know, we really emphasize this with our players as well, with our veteran leaders. We take it 15-minute chunks at a time. Referencing that matchup against Northwestern, where the Wildcats took control of things late in the game and looked very threatening to go ahead. He was saying, you know, when we're coaching a game like this, we take it 15-minute chunks. After 15 minutes, that's when we really reevaluate, you know, restructure what we want to do. He said we can't do that much from the sideline, obviously. There's no timeouts that you can call in soccer, as we all know. But you can do it by instilling that ideology in your leaders in practice and trusting them to make those adjustments, those changes after 15-minute stretches. And now as we come towards 15 minutes since that Northwestern goal of Wildcat dominance, really, we'll see if those Rutgers adjustments come into play. It's certainly been a bit more even in this little exchange of play.
Yeah, you line up the first 15 minutes of the half. Went about as badly as it could for Rutgers. You fall behind, plenty of chances to fall further behind. Northwestern really just dominating from the go from the 45 to the 30 as the clock counts down. I mean, a little bit better in the middle 15. But still nothing in sense of taking control of this game, or just nullifying Northwestern a little better than they did a couple minutes ago.
And we'll say we missed a sub earlier. That's why Cashin was in the game. She was subbed on after about 15 minutes. There that goes again. For Daigle, we saw Cashin for much of that first half, only her 4th appearance of the season for Rutgers, and here she is on the ball one more time in the middle of the park. Looking for Tiernan. She turns on goal. And the shot pops towards Rabin easily in the end. Kierman puts pressure, forcing Rabin to pick it up.
Just wonder if Moynihan's heart dropped a little as Rabin went for that with her thigh instead of the hands at first.
Got to trust your veteran goalkeeper, though. 2 fifth-year keepers. Rabin hasn't had to face quite the volume of chances as McClellan, but she has acquitted herself a bit better today. As Bodie opens it up. More space on the far side for Northwestern. Here comes Doucette. Nicole Doucette really been a feature of this offense today, but that pass runs too far for Lily Gilbertson. By today, I mean specifically in the second half, typically a much more defensive-lying player, while Austin is the back more likely to go forwards. But it's been Doucette in this second half, and she still officially has been credited with the assist
Haley Gutowski.
on Gilbertson's goal. We'll see if that gets changed. But she has been the player who's prompted a lot of that attack for Northwestern, as we see Haley Gutowski re-enter the game, another grad student for Rutgers up top. And it is Kroger taking a rest. So Kroger and Lowry both off now for the Scarlet Knights up top. Cashin in the midfield for Daigle. 3 subs for Rutgers already in the game. Northwestern still with their starting group out there, as they usually tend to do. Gilbertson trying to get back onto the ball. She felt she was walled off illegally. No whistle or flag. And now, yeah, the referee basically saying that was enough of that, as Rutgers will take the goal kick.
Yeah, she's... Get a look at it.
Yeah, nothing in that really. No hands or anything from Meisel. I think Gilbertson just a bit frustrated by how well Meisel's been able to stop her advances today.
Yeah, that's happened a few times this half, and I feel like just every time Gilbertson's gotten a little more frustrated with the no call on the contact.
And with a game that big, hard to not be frustrated, but I think every no call individually certainly hard to find fault with. Gutowski cutting forward, working with Gierman. But getting a piece of that ball was Phillips. Lappy clears it away. Del Carmen couldn't control. Lappy with a big-time header up top for Gilbertson. And here comes Doucette on the overlapping run one more time. Nicole Doucette works it back for Gilbertson. Wildcats in control right now with 20 minutes to play and a 2-1 lead in the Big Ten quarterfinal. Over the top, Kurla with a nervy clearance. Del Carmen up top for it. Kurla came through her back. Referee says nothing in it. And Phillips gets it out for Haas. Haas looking towards the middle for Del Carmen one more time. It's all the way through. Bodie couldn't quite get there. But yet another cross, looking dangerous for Northwestern.
And near perfect ball there from Haas. Thought it would fall perfect just at the last second for Bodie. And you can see they're really starting to ride the hot hand of Doucette getting forward as they counter. Haas really dropping as that third defender as the back line shifts to allow Doucette more forward freedom.
Here is a non-like-for-like sub. Gianna Romano comes on for Meisel. This is an attack-heavy sub for Rutgers. Romano, a forward midfielder listed in the roster. She typically plays a more attacking midfield role, and Meisel, the left back for Rutgers, comes off for her. We'll see if that formationally shifts anything for Rutgers, or whether they stick in their... Yeah, they will seem to stay in more of a 4-3-3, but Romano's certainly much more capable of coming forward out of that left back role than Meisel is.
And it's a position that allows you to get forward, and with only 20 minutes left and you're not getting much chances, you got to make the attacking subs a little earlier.
Rutgers putting a ton of pressure on Northwestern as they play out of the back. Ball into no man's land, tracked down by Tiernan. Lappy bodies her off. And the throw will stay Rutgers' way, though. Romano comes over to take it. And now leaves it for Banks. Scarlet Knights sending a ton of bodies forward. This is the first even somewhat sustained pressure they've had all half. And Coach O'Neill says, go in there. He wants Banks to throw it into the box, and she does. Lappy rises for the defensive header. She's been such a stalwart back there today. Not to mention that goal. Bodie slips, gets back up, and Lappy opens it up for Haas on the switch. Wildcats playing a bit more defensively here. Willing to let Rutgers come to them. Lappy over the top. Gilbertson turning, gets to it. Working on Romano.
Yeah, and if they had space to attack earlier in the half, it's just going to increase as Rutgers really has to chase the game.
Doucette's cross and offsides, I believe. Oh, no. Maybe the whistle was on the side. Yeah, there's a foul on the ball in and a yellow card given to Tiernan. On the initial ball, it'll be a Northwestern free kick from the far side. And that yellow came out very quickly. Let's look one more time at Tiernan's challenge. Oh, well after the ball is away, shoulder to shoulder there. Understandable.
Nearly fell for Regazzoni to really take a touch and try to line one up from distance there. Not sure if she wanted to hear the whistle herself.
Yeah. And Tiernan is the first one in the book, but play was stagnating a bit. Can't really blame.
Yeah, hard to a cleared header. It's tough to keep playing advantage from there and eventually go back.
And Grajeda, our head ref today, makes an understandable decision, and now he'll back up Alessino a little bit towards the sideline. So Tiernan goes into the book. First time a player from either side has today, and on only her second foul of the day at that. It was a hard one, that's for sure. And Alessino to play the ball in. Wildcats sending plenty of people forward, including Emma Phillips. Typically a magnet on these set pieces. Ball goes towards the front post, and no Wildcat head there to challenge McClellan.
Especially when you're chasing a game like this. I just think there's a lot of value in leaving a forward up at the halfway line when you're defending these set pieces, giving that instant outlet if you want to try it.
Instead, Rutgers dropped everybody back, and now have a bit more of a delayed counter, if you could even call it a counter at this point. But plenty of space on the near side for Lynch. Here she comes, ball over the top of Gierman, and Tiernan wasn't close enough to get to it, but she does get to that one off of Doucette's pass. Tiernan pressured heavily, cross comes in. Phillips heads it away. And now Del Carmen stepping around Fluchel, lays it off for Alessino. She'll play towards the corner as Northwestern resets. Subs waiting for both teams right now at the midfield line with just under 17 minutes to play. Rutgers trying to come back and at least force overtime against Northwestern. In our first Big Ten quarterfinal of the day. Elsewhere, by the way, in the 4-5 matchup, at the half, Nebraska was leading Ohio State 2-0. If you're interested in the score. It's the only other game being played right now in the conference. Pressure being put on McClellan, and she has to play it out of the sideline for a throw. The Wildcats will not opt to sub right. No, they will. They will slow it down and make the substitution. Paige Miller, the typical sub at this juncture, will give Del Carmen a breather. Expect to see Del Carmen again at the end of the game, but she'll take a break right now. 2 subs for Rutgers. They're bringing Kroger back in for Gutowski. Just a brief run for Gutowski, and Meisel
Night substitution.
will re-enter for Romano. So both players just getting a little bit of a blow, Meisel and Kroger, and now back for the stretch run with 15:50 to go. Nice little pass from Doucette to Bodie. Doucette gets it back. Gilbertson can't hold it in. Subs on both sides. Both teams with only one sub currently in the game. Lowry also came back in, by the way. I missed that initially. Allison Lowry's back in for Gearman. And Daigle. So Rutgers is all the way back to their starting lineup. Just those last two came on late in the process. And a foul behind the play. Gilbertson slow to get up. She got a little piece of the foot of Meisel.
And just to give an update before the set piece, Nebraska's running away with it, up 4-0 now.
4-0, wow. Not something we expect to see from Nebraska, who does not really have a strong enough RPI to get into the NCAA tournament. They are going to need a run in the Big Ten tournament, and they're playing like they know it right now. Winner of that game will play the winner of Minnesota-Michigan State later today. These two teams waiting for the winner of Penn State-Wisconsin after this one. Ball in! All the way through without a head. Lowry was near it, but Daigle's initial ball was just a little bit too far for any of her teammates to connect to. Dangerous area, though.
And Rabin had full confidence that was going wide. But from up here, you think about the goal that put Northwestern ahead.
Yes, certainly.
And the free kick Michigan had against Rutgers. But she wasn't even scrambling. She just calmly watched that one go wide.
Northwestern will make a sub now. Play being stopped, and this will be somebody new. Entering for Gilbertson, that is Haley Newman, the true first year out of New Jersey, getting a chance to play against Rutgers here. We have not seen very much of Newman this year. Enters for the 10th time, played a lot in the non-conference. Once Big Ten play started, didn't see as much of her. And she'll give Gilbertson a blow on the far side in the midfield.
And she should have plenty of space to operate in as Rutgers starts to open up to chase this game. So a kind of welcome scenario, maybe not the welcome
fresh legs,
pressure
and Newman gets it immediately here.
Quarterfinal, but
First year, tried to get through to Miller, couldn't do it. Ball comes back out for Doucette. Northwestern really tilting that formation to the right side, as you mentioned earlier, Adam. As Regazzoni goes through to Alessino, 1-2 to Paige Miller. Lays it off for Bodie. Newman ready to make a run on the far side. Instead it's through to Alessino. She turns, looks, walled off. Clearance to Bodie. She fires, and it's blocked away. Regazzoni for Haas as the Wildcats try to get back in. Haas against Kroger. Gets past her, now Lynch. Ball comes through to Paige Miller. Spinning on it. Can't get around Kurla. Once again, Rutgers by the skin of their teeth gets away from a Northwestern chance. And Regazzoni will play it out for a Rutgers throw.
yeah, it was a tough angle for Alessino to take that initial effort on first time. Good attempted turn, just a lot of traffic, and then Bodie's effort also blocked. A lot of contact there.
Bodie maybe played it up just a little bit. Now, I'm not going to say Sam Kroger's not strong, but Meg Bodie has some pounds on her, and she went down awful easy on that one. Referees seem to agree.
Gasp more from the crowd than the players.
Right, certainly. Bodie looking for Newman. And here she comes. The true first year down the far side, tracked by Banks once more. Newman working on the ball. She's got options in the middle. Goes for Bodie. Bodie turning against Fluchel, back to Newman. Newman turning, looking, plays it back for Lappy. The Wildcats content to calm things down a bit. She switches sides for Haas. Haas looking, surveying her options, breaking down Lynch. Cross is deflected as it comes through, and McClellan got to it. Wildcats just working in ball after ball. Nothing has fallen since the original goal from the Doucette-Gilbertson combination somehow early in this second half, but it hasn't needed to. They're holding this 2-1 lead and look pretty comfortable with it. Alessino, tracked by Daigle, gets past her. Charging in and firing, and McClellan is there on her own end line. Nearly fumbled it for a second, but able to play it away. Kroger wants to run against Regazzoni. Lays it off for Lowry, right back on the 1-2. Now Fluchel looking for options. And she'll get Banks involved. No subs coming to the table for either side as we head towards 11 minutes to play in this Big Ten quarterfinal. Rutgers searching for an equalizer. And not on the same page were Brocious and Lowry. Coach O'Neill, after some early subs in both halves, riding with his veterans, with his typical starting lineup down the stretch. So far, no lineup option has really led to anything of note for Rutgers in this second half. They have been stymied by Northwestern.
Yeah, no, whether it's, they haven't been able to catch numbers out of the back very often just with how good Northwestern has been at possessing. And then as they're...
Let's look at this ball from Lappy to Haas. I mean, that thing traveled about 60 yards across the field. And Haas has space one more time. Alessino working on Kurla. Kurla wants her to go left. Alessino wants to go right. Now back to her left, and Kurla blocks the shot. Haas's cross is blocked off towards Alessino. Now in the middle. And Miller couldn't get to it cleanly. Haas again. Cross again. For Paige Miller, it's over her. Newman was looking dangerous at the back, but Meisel cleared it. And now Doucette does enough to stem the counterattack.
And that's been a big thing that's kind of also hurt just the amount of chances Rutgers have been able to get. As Northwestern chance initially ends, a new one starts. They're just not able to clear their lines.
Yeah.
So even as more players start to come forward, not enough to really spark a counter as Northwestern's aware of the time and score.
There has not been a meaningful counterattack chance, as this is going to be called play on here. There's not been a meaningful counterattack chance all half for Rutgers, despite the amount of numbers Northwestern's been throwing forward. Newman once again trying to break down Meisel, and Meisel's just too big. Goes out for a goal kick.
Yeah, and to your point, you just look at that last chance they had with 10 seconds left in the first half that Danica Austin really shut down. As their last real attack where there was a center back out of position, there was space to attack. That one really more of a 2-on-2, maybe a 2-on-1 towards the end.
They've had one shot in this half, and it was one that just bounced harmlessly towards Rabin from Tiernan, deflected in front. Didn't really ever have a chance. That's the only shot they've had all half.
And it's got to be a weird one for them to look at, considering all that, considering how many chances Northwestern has had to extend this lead. As of now, the game-winning goal was very
fluky.
Yeah. I was trying to think of a second word, but that's really
no. It has been. It was fluky. I don't think Northwestern would disagree with you. But the interesting thing is, despite all that, Rutgers still has every chance that they could want to even it up. Plenty of time to go. 8:25. As another Rutgers sub goes to the table. Northwestern settles things once more. Rowan Lappy has had the ball at her feet so much this half, and she just hasn't made a single mistake with it. Always knows the right place to go.
Yeah, so good at getting your head up, looking at which wingers were operating in more space to try and find that switch.
Regazzoni for Alessino this time on the near side, not Haas. Haas is playing a little bit deeper. Alessino trying to break down Kroger. Gets around her, but Regazzoni was cut off by Daigle. Collision in the middle, and the whistle goes Rutgers' way. Lappy came clattering through the back of Brocious there. Subs for each team ready, and they will not be called upon.
Haas reverting to her older fullback ways. It looks
right,
like
it's four at the back now for Northwestern, really.
Really gone to afford to see this one out.
Understandable.
She'll still get forward when needed, but Alessino operating as the left wing, the left mid in this 4-2-3-1 at the moment.
And this is a lot what we saw from Northwestern, both when Regazzoni was hurt against Iowa and for most of last season. Was a formation a lot more like this, with Lappy playing somehow an even deeper defensive midfield than she was playing before.
4-2-3-1, nothing to scoff at, but anything looks a little more bland compared to the 3-6-1 they started this game and every other game this season with.
A lot of space for Kurla, and she takes it. Daigle with an opportunity. Turns now, passes to nobody. I think she thought that space was going to be filled by Meisel, and it just wasn't. Now Meisel got to it, but it's won away by Regazzoni. Newman with Gilbertson waiting at the table. Miller with a nice pass to Bodie, who misplayed it but saves it. And now it's back to Lappy one more time. Lowry putting pressure on from behind. And Lappy opens it up one more time. Alessino, not sure if that was intentional or not, but Haas was waiting behind her. And now Alessino overlaps. Easy ball from Haas. Alessino looking for that cross chance. Goes towards the back post. Newman wasn't close enough. Bodie waiting. Was able to get Tiernan on her back enough to let that ball come through for Doucette. And now Bodie steps towards it and couldn't hook up with Paige Miller.
Yeah, I think Newman on that previous cross really has to crash into the 6-yard box, try to get on the inside of her defender. Really not too much of a scoring threat from that far wide on the outside, on the far side.
Looked like Lowry might have handled that. No whistle, and she'll come forward. Surrounded by white shirts, Lowry still on the ball. Allison Lowry looking for help. Lays it off for Brocious. Kroger couldn't turn. That was promising for Rutgers, but it fizzled so quickly. And Lappy clears it away. Flushell right into the feet of Bodie. Meg Bodie looking exhausted. She has been all over the field. Held up, grabbed, and stays on the ball, no whistle. Newman. Only two Northwestern players really coming forward here. It's just Newman and Miller, both of whom are about to sub out. Paige Miller going back for Newman, and she's happy to take it to the corner. And now lay it off for Doucette. Northwestern just taking a break right now in the offensive end. Not a lot of pressure being put on from Rutgers. With under 5 to go. That pass misses Bodie, and Rutgers will clear for a throw. Now we will see all 4 subs. For Northwestern, it will be Ingrid Falls, actually, it looks like, and Aurea Del Carmen. So Gilbertson stays on the sideline. Newman will stay in. Falls replaces Miller, and I'm not sure who Del Carmen came in for. Because Newman is still in the game.
Scarlet Knight substitutions. Number 2.
For Rutgers, Gia Gierman re-enters. And we see Romano back in as well.
Wildcats substitutions.
I believe it was Bodie who came on.
No, Bodie's still on there.
Number 23.
As Falls takes advantage of the giveaway. Del Carmen has Falls in front. She wants it instead. Aurea Del Carmen breaking it down, and it's saved. Off the deflection by McClellan, it will be a corner for Northwestern. Who is missing? I just can't figure it out. Maybe Newman did come off.
Oh, she did at the last
Yeah,
second.
I think I'm losing my mind.
Yeah, she never stayed on.
Newman came off.
And I was getting ready to say, having Del Carmen back in will be so valuable with her, just how nifty she is on the ball. Her ability to turn as you're going to have less numbers, and right there.
So dangerous.
Almost, well, good save by McClellan. Never really looked like it was going in, but a chance to try and put the game away late.
Now Northwestern can kill some more time, and they will take the corner short and take it right to the corner. Rutgers able to get it away for a second, and now they do clear it. Kroger charging with 3.5 to play. Got a long way to go. She slows up, gives it off for Flushell. Or pardon me, that's Tiernan. Looking for Gierman through the middle. Rutgers trying to use the speed of Gia Gierman, and they do force the clearance from Austin. Both teams with this hybrid starters bench lineup as we come down the stretch. Rutgers desperately searching for an equalizer, even a chance at one right now. Austin with a bit of a misplay. Comes off Lowry, and she clatters through Austin, and the foul will come against. No, it's a handball being called on Allison Lowry. And a yellow card. Was a yellow card shown? I guess there was just pointing. I didn't see necessarily an actual card come out. It's just going to be a free kick for Northwestern.
You'd have to imagine a card would only be if he called foul, but you could see the referee.
Right, it was a handball. And
so
then, and just a delayed whistle is what happened there.
And I mean, all the same for Northwestern at this point. It ends the attack. It gives them a chance to clear.
As that ball comes all the way through and just does run out of play before Del Carmen can get on the end. 2:20 to go. And really searching for that sense of urgency from Rutgers. We haven't really found it all half. It's just now starting to get into that more urgent attack formation. I mean, to be fair to the Scarlet Knights, Northwestern hasn't really given them a chance to be urgent going forward. Banks, big throw over the top. Austin's defensive header. Oh man, another big collision in the middle of the park. Meisel got to it, though, and laid it off for Tiernan. Bodie stumbles. There's debris on the field. A shin guard is loose. Or maybe that's a shoe.
It's a cleat.
It is a shoe. Not sure whose. Alessino, it's Tiernan again, who has had both her right and left shoe come off in this half. Riley, I think you need to tie him a little bit tighter. And it's a throw for Northwestern on the far side.
And you were just hinting at it, but if they are to see this game end as at the current score, Rutgers really didn't, throw themselves at the end of this game as you would expect
surprising.
for a team at
Surprising.
the end of the Big Ten tournament game. Even there, just not a lot of balls forward. They had numbers, they had possession.
Yeah, absolutely. But it hasn't been in the attacking third. The ball just hasn't gotten there with the Rutgers on the end of it.
Just not even as much risk as you may try.
Yeah, certainly.
The desperation passes.
they're still four at the back.
Don't work.
Adam, they're still four at the back. They're still have a relatively defensive formation out there. It's just surprising.
And Northwestern has switched formations. They're clearly dropping more. One of their wingers is now playing fullback. And just no attempt with 60 seconds left to this point to capitalize, or not capitalize, but really give yourself a chance to get back into this game.
You know what it is, Adam, I think? They just look shell-shocked. Northwestern came out of the second half with so much pace, so much ferocity, got that early goal, got a million chances after it, and Rutgers just never bounced back from it.
And the manner of the goal may have also played a part in just rattling that back line a little more to where they don't want to open up a bit.
We see one more time Alessino winning the free kick on the far side. A couple fouls now from Fluchel. As the cheering starting from the Northwestern section. The Wildcats seconds away from clinching a trip to the Big Ten semifinals for the first time since 2017.
10.
Alessino into the corner as the seconds tick away.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And that'll do it. The Northwestern Wildcats, thanks to the early second half goal officially credited to Lily Gilbertson, hold on with a 2-1 win